Hi, this is Jim from Phillips Connect Technologies. For this video, we're going to install our trailer net ST for solar tether on a DuraPlate nose trailer. So for the purpose of this video, this trailer is loaded and we're going to show you how to install on a loaded trailer. So before we get started, let's check out what we got to install. Okay, we're going to start with our gateway. This is the PCT trailer net ST. S is solar and it's also tethered. So this is 4G LTE. It's got a cargo sensor that's actually built in with this mounting bracket. So this is going to be mounted on the nose of the trailer. We're going to drill an 1 3/4 hole for the cargo sensor. So those are going to be fastened, and we supply all of the fasteners. So let's just go through everything that's supplied. Okay, this is the bag all of the installation supplies come in. So we've got 2 fuse holders for the 2 power supplies. They're a 5-amp fuse for both blue and brown. And then we have 9 3/16 closed-in aluminum rivets for the mounting plate. They also are used for these 3 P-clamps for the cable. And then we have a number 10 ring terminal for the ground and 2 butt connectors. And the last piece is our harness. So for this application, since it doesn't have any smart sensors, we're just going to have power and ground. So as you can see, it's just a blue to the blue circuit, a brown to the brown circuit, and white for ground. And that's the extent of all the supplies we need. Okay, for the tools we're going to need, this is a Wabash trailer, so you might have a slight difference, but because this is a DuraPlate nose trailer and it's loaded, besides the cordless drill, you use any brand, but you can notice that this, with the 3/16 drill bit, has a stop on it. So we want to put this stop on there so we don't drill too far and hit the cargo. So I'll go more in detail with that once we start the install. I just use a screwdriver to help pry off the nose of the 7-way socket. These are, of course, your wire crimpers. I use this to remove the jacket on the harness. It does a real clean job of doing that. Of course, your wire cutters, crimpers. I have a impact 1/4 inch. This is an 8mm. 8mm is the size of the nut that holds the device to the mounting bracket. This is a level that I'll use to level the bracket, just to make sure it's square on the nose of the trailer. Easy wire strippers. I use this. This is just a power supply, so it only has 2 powers. So it's ABS and marker lights, so that's the only way we power it. So it's real easy just to test your device using this product. Okay, this is the torch we'll use for our heat shrink connectors. And this is a 1/2 inch socket we use we'll take the 7-way off the front, and 3/8 is the size of the nuts. Okay, this is a cordless 3/16 rivet gun for a 3/16 blind rivet that we'll use to mount the mounting plate. I have a tape measure, and this is the 1 3/4 hole saw that I use. You'll notice that it has a lip here, so it won't allow you to go too deep into the trailer. So I know that the composite nose trailer or a DuraPlate nose trailer is about 8mm deep, so we don't want to go any further than 8mm when we're drilling into the cargo, so this will prevent that from happening. So that's all the tools we'll need to start our install. Okay, so now that we've verified that this asset ID, this trailer, is available to install on my mobile portal, the next thing I always want to do is make sure I can get this nose box off without any problem. So you don't want to do the whole install and then figure out you can't get your nose box apart. So let's just make sure none of these nuts are rusted on. Take this nose box apart. Just remove the 4. There's 6 nuts total. Okay, next we want to take the socket off of the mounting plate. So just use a flat screwdriver or a gasket scraper without. Make sure you just pry evenly to get the socket off. And I just put the socket right here so it's available. Take the cover off. Make sure the gasket's in good shape. I'll put this here so you know where it's at. Okay, the device comes with 4 additional barcodes, so you can put these on work orders or a travel or something, but I always want to put an extra one on the trailer. So we'll go ahead and peel one of these off and put it inside the document holder. Okay, now that I've put on the barcode, we're going to remove the mounting plate from the device. So these are, like I said, 4 8mm nuts. It'll remove the bracket. This bracket has a lip on it here that helps you with the indication into the 1 3/4 hole, and this one is an arbor hole I use for marking. Okay, next we're going to mark where we're going to put our arbor for the hole saw. So the cargo sensor, because this pan is in the middle, normally we'd want it closer to the center. We don't want it any higher than 38 inches and any lower than 28 inches. So because we have this document holder here and the pan here, I'm going to mark from where the floor is, right at this rivet, 28 inches up. And then that's where I'm going to put my arbor hole. Okay, so now that I made the mark on this bracket, we've made a hole specifically to center where you're going to put your cargo sensor eye. So this end of it we'll use just to mark where the hole's going to be. So as you see this location, we want to make sure it's centered and not in the way of either this device or this document holder. Okay, now that I've made my mark, this is where we're going to drill our pilot hole. We want to make sure that we know what's directly on the other side of this wall. So as you can see, I'm going to use my stop. My stop is set to not go too far into the trailer. So we're going to drill into the trailer so it hits the stop. Okay, so now that I've drilled my pilot hole with the 3/16 bit, I'm just going to use one of the rivets to see if there's any target or anything right behind it. So this will suffice for that. So as you can see, I don't have anything right against it, but if you were to insert this and you found that you hit something hard, then you know you need to make sure that you use your stops on every single time and you don't drill and hit that target. So now that we know there's not a target directly against the nose of the trailer, we're going to drill our cargo sensor hole. Okay, so now we're going to take our 1 3/4 hole saw and we're going to drill the 1 3/4 hole in the nose of the trailer. Okay, so now that I've gone through my first layer, I want to take the arbor out. So I'm just showing you this because if there was a target right up against it, you don't want to have your arbor hit. So because there's the way the DuraPlate works, there's an outer layer and an inner layer with plastic in the middle. As soon as you go through your first layer, you can take the arbor out, and then the hole saw will be guided by the hole you just drilled. Okay, so now we've taken it out. Make sure the puck, you take the puck out and it doesn't fall inside the trailer. Okay, next we're going to mount our mounting plate. As I said, we have a lip on here that'll help indicate into this hole. It has a VHB back, and this VHB back is not so much made to hold the mounting plate to the trailer, but it's to seal around this hole and the rivet hole. So we want to make sure this surface is clean. So we'll take a rag and we'll clean the surface area that the mounting plate is going to be mounted on. So once it's clean, take the backing plate off the VHB, and then once you get it in place, we want to make sure it's straight. So this is where I'm going to take my level, knowing that the trailer is level, and we're going to use this to make sure this bracket is straight before you adhere it. So once you get it straight, stick it down and we can drill our rivet holes. Okay, next we're going to take our drill with our stop with the 3/16 drill bit, and we're going to drill out all 6 of these holes that mount the mounting bracket to the nose of the trailer. So you can see using this stop, you can't go too far. So sometimes when you're trying to drill without a stop, it's real easy to go through that second layer and go all the way in and potentially hit the target. So I always recommend using that stop. Okay, next we're going to install our 6 3/16 blind rivets. So I always start by just inserting them in the hole first. Okay, once they're installed, we're going to use our cordless rivet gun and go ahead and clamp them down. Okay, now that we've riveted it in place, we're ready to mount the device onto the bracket. So just go ahead and install it over the studs and start by hand the 4 nuts. Okay, so on my impact, I usually set the torque, the clutch about 12. So we're going to start at 12 and then we're going to tighten these in a cross pattern. It's important again not to over torque these, because if you break one or strip one, cross thread one, then you got to remove the bracket and start all over. So now that we've installed the device and mounted it on the trailer, we're going to go ahead and wire it up. So this is our connector. It's a 1/4 turn bayonet connector, so it's keyed, so you can only get it in one way. So once you get it in, push till it's tight, and then, like I said, 1/4 turn to the right, and that's connected. So okay, once you get it connected, we're going to go ahead and run this wire inside the nose box. So the first thing we want to do is cut this blunt cut so it makes it easier to run the wire into the bottom of the nose box. Want to make sure the wire is on the inside of the air hose. Okay, you got your wire run inside the nose box. We're going to pull out all the wire that we're going to end up cutting off of this harness, so we don't have a lot of excess wire. Okay, after we've run our wire into the box, we want to take out all the slack, and then we're going to cut our harness right to here. So the reason we don't want to have too much extra wire inside these nose boxes, because there's not a whole lot of room. So we just run it up to the edge here, because this is the farthest connection that we're going to make is this white wire. So once we cut it, we're going to strip the wire jacket back using this wire stripping tool. So we'll run this tool over the jacket to get about 4 inches off of the jacket. It takes about 1.5 turns to remove the wire jacket. So once you've removed the wire jacket, we're going to cut the 2 wires. Because our blue wire and our brown wire are shorter distance, and we have those fuse holders, we can cut these a little bit shorter and leave the white wire long. So we'll just leave about 1 inch for the blue and 1 inch for the brown. Once we cut those, we want to strip these back about 1/4 inch, no more than that. Okay, we use a number 10 ring terminal on only the ground, because we have our 2 fuses that we're going to put on the blue and the brown. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we'll put the number 10 ring terminal on first, and then we'll add our fuses next. So the number 10 ring terminal only goes on the white wire. So we want to use the crimping tool that won't puncture the plastic. So we go with the red, fully crimp them so they won't over tighten. Make sure they're nice and tight. And then we're going to add our fuse holders. So each fuse holder we add to both the blue and the brown wires. So these already have a butt connector on them, so we'll use the butt connector that's already there. Okay, after we've connected the white wire to the ring terminal, we'll connect the two fuse holders to the blue and to the brown wire. It's important to use these crimpers because you can't over crimp them and puncture the plastic so that it would corrode. So once we've made these 3 connections, we're going to use our torch and we're going to heat shrink all of the connections. Okay, now that we've finished with the torch, we're going to connect each wire to each post that it belongs on. So we have the white wire, obviously is going to connect with all the ground wires. We're going to connect the brown wire to pin 6 and then the blue wire to pin 7. So we'll begin by taking off the nut that's on the white wire. It's a good idea to make sure you start the nuts by hand so you don't cross thread them. Once you start the nuts, you can use your impact. And then make sure the routing is the wire is routed in such a way that it won't make contact with any other wires. Take the nut off of the brown wire. We'll connect the fuse holder to the brown wire. Again, making sure the routing is not in the way of any other wires. Okay, the last one will be the blue wire. So the blue wire is our primary power. So it's going to run, the device will run off the blue wire most of the time. And the only reason that we have a brown wire is in the event that there's no ABS at the time. Okay, again, we want to start these nuts by hand. Okay, now that all the wires are tight, just double check all your routing. Make sure there's not going to be any obstructions. This already has another device and more fuse holders in it, so normally you wouldn't have this much clutter inside the nose box, but right now we want to make sure and tuck our fuses in so they can't get pinched. None of the wires can be pinched when we put the nose box back together. So I'm going to tuck these in on the bottom here. Make sure they're out of the way. Then we can reassemble our nose box. Okay, so we're wired up here to our ground, which is this is our ground wire, and this is the brown wire connected to pin 6. And then we've got our blue wire connected to pin 7. So once we've got all the wires that are out of the way, we can go ahead and put our cover plate on. Make sure our gasket's in good shape. There's no rips or tears in it. If there is, it should be replaced. Once you install the cover plate, put on the J560 socket, line up the holes. The socket will help hold it in. Okay, next we're going to put our nuts back on that holds the cover and the J560 socket on the nose box. Again, I like to start everything by hand so you don't cross thread anything. So now before I put my P-clamps on, I'm going to go ahead and power this trailer up. So once I power it up, it's going to supply power to the device. The device is in a shipping mode now, so the reason I do this is it gives it time for the device to connect to the network while I'm putting on my P-clamps. So I just heard the ABS click, so I know that I'm connected to power. So the first P-clamp, all the directions will be the same, but I generally like to have it within just a couple inches of the connector. In the event, we supply 3 P-clamps, but if the device has to go up higher, you can put 2 between the device and the mounting plate. But if it's close proximity like this, you could put 1 here, and then we're going to put 1 down here on this mounting plate. You want to make sure this P-clamp is going to hold this harness away from these airlines. Okay, that really completes the install of the TrailerNet ST device. So now let's verify and associate. So, okay, now that we've verified that this asset ID is available, we'll go ahead and click on it so that we can install it. So we'll just scroll down here and click on install, and then we'll use our scan tool to scan the IMEI on the device. And then you remember we put a barcode in here and we put a barcode here, so you can use either one to capture the barcode. Okay, now my scanner has found the IMEI on the phone and it's available. Just click on available and it'll say either the device is found, meaning the device is connected to the network. If it is connected to the network and then it says it's device found, click on submit. And once you click on submit, that is what associates this device to this trailer. Now that we've done the verification and association, that completes the install of the TrailerNet ST device.